The Illuminati is not real. I was looking at some crazy Illuminati stuff the other day, the sovereign citizen movement. I want to make a sovereign citizen video, but I think one thing I've learned about social media is like, people take it way too seriously. Like I say stuff on social media, it ends up in court cases. It's like, bro, I was posting. The judge is like, and what is posting? That sounds like breaking the law. I'm like, what did I do? The journalists and prosecutors, they're also such nerds. They're like, what did you mean by that? Is that a threat? IRL Reddit mods. So the whole idea of like the sovereign citizen movement is like this ridiculous concept that you can reject the sovereignty of the United States. And there's like different ways to do it. For example, you can refuse to pay your taxes because under UCC 201, all payments above $500 require a written contract. And I never entered into a written contract with the United States of America. Therefore, the United States of America owes me money, or at least, very least, I don't owe them. The best ever? Oh, let me show you the best ever. I found this last night. Tell me how awesome this is. Everyone should print this out and put this on their doors. Warning, notice to all law and code enforcement. This property is posted. Read this notice carefully. This is private property. This property is declared a police state free zone. You are not here to help me and cannot be trusted. All law and code enforcement officers harass, annoy, and try to entrap people. You are not welcome, invited, wanted, or needed. Neither myself, my family, or employees have anything to say to you. I also exercise my constitutional rights. If you have a problem with any point hereby noticed, call my lawyer. I think this is pretty sweet. This is gonna work. Police read that, they're like, foiled again. I don't raise capital for anybody else. You can send me pitches or whatever, but I'm very selective about what I'll invest in. I don't really like to invest in startups. It's not my skill set. Investing in startups, you need deal flow, you need time to evaluate all of them. It's funny, I have a friend who is a multi-billion-dollar tech startup, and he's an investor in my company. And he emailed his friend about my company and said, oh, you should invest in Martin's company. And this woman, this was in the morning, this woman said, I can be at your office when is good for you. And I said 5 o'clock. She came right then at 5 o'clock. Knew nothing about my company, knew nothing about my business. That's what it takes to succeed in startup investing. Like, you have to have the network so that you see cool deals, and then you need to be like on top of it. Because a good deal will like go out your door to another company. And sometimes you need a lot of capital. Like, let's say, there's a hot deal, they want $1 million check. You want to do 20 of these deals a year, you need some capital. And these are risky deals. So to me, like, startup investing has just never been my jam. I think there are investors that don't care. They've made enough money. They'll invest with whoever they want. And that's the kind of investors I deal with. If it's an investor that's like, oh man, I don't know what people will think if I invest with Martin. I don't want to deal with that person. I don't even want them in my deal. I want somebody who's just like independent. They can do what they want. They don't have to beg some investment committee for like some weird access. Sovereign citizen movement. It's real, bro. Yeah, like I want to do a sarcastic video about it. I also want to do a money hack video. Like, all these things would get me in trouble, but they're so funny. The chase glitch. If I did a chase glitch video, I'd melt the internet. I'd be like, listen, Smart Shkreli here. I figured out the chase glitch. Swipe your card, go to the ATM, and swipe your card. But before you swipe, I want you to hold the number 0 down on the ATM. Okay, put your PIN in. Ask for $20. Then I have a big stack. I'm like, this is what comes out. That's how the rich stay rich. Take it from me. Put the money up to my ear. Hello? Police? You know the whole hood's gonna be on that once I release the glitch. You wanna go band for band?
1% average a day is not doable. That's insane. Let's look at the numbers here. So if you made 1% a day for the 250 trading days in the year, you make 12 times your money. Now, I'm not saying you can't make 12 times your money. You could make 12 times your money in a year, but you probably are going to be taking some insane risk, like out of the money call options or something like that. If someone wants to be a day trader, where should they mainly start? Probably by stop wanting to be a day trader. But it's funny, there are some people that have like a natural talent for trading. The one thing you have to keep in mind is everyone likes to trade. Trading is fun. It's like, sometimes they call it NASDAQ Nintendo. We're actually going to make a keyboard like the Bloomberg keyboard. We're thinking about it. And what I want to do, the Bloomberg keyboard kind of sucks. One, it's not even mechanical. It's kind of a piece of trash. Two, it's just this like color-coded thing. I'm going to be smashing this over somebody's head for an advertisement for Godel. Is it? Could it be mechanical? It doesn't feel mechanical. And so what I want to do is make like a buy button. So like you just buy, sell. Be pretty cool. 1% a day is 12 times your money every year. So if you started with $1,000, not much. And then you, let's see here, times 12 to the 5th power. In 5 years, you would have $250 million. In 6 years, you'd have $3 billion. And in just 10 years, you would have $61 quadrillion. Do I have that right? No, $61 trillion. 62 trill. Cool, 62 trill after 10 years of trading. Well, I've been trading for 10 years, and I can tell you I don't have $62 trillion yet. So yeah, hard to make 1% consistently every day. Conservatively make 1% a day. That's just fraud. I like my felony. I don't need a pardon. That's a mark of distinction. You know how far this police state has gone to incarcerate people? They'll incarcerate you for anything, anytime, no problem. Every founding father would be in jail for life. That's why I wouldn't use the puts. I'd just short the stock. You know, puts kind of like box you into a date and a price. When if you're wrong by it, you could be completely right about the thesis, but wrong by 3 days and you lose all your money. So to me, just easier to short the stock. Maybe it gets this weird theta or gamma squeeze or something, but I don't know. I don't think Bitcoin will go down necessarily just because IFP gets broken. I do think that there will be warning signs. I think there'll be time to fork. You can bet your bottom dollar that I'm going to be sitting there trying to break it. Telomeres are like a bit of a meme. When people say telomeres, they don't really know what they're talking about. Telomeres and nootropics. Anytime you hear those two words, just run away. Longevity is pretty close to another one of those words, which is pretty sus. Everybody wants a fountain of youth. Yeah, telomeres are not something like... Oh, there are telomere disorders, that is true. But they're very, very rare, and they don't tell us anything about... Well, they tell us a little bit about aging, but nothing that useful. Patrick is correct. A lot of institutions and also investors in general, it's not that they can't touch it. Sometimes they can't touch it, but it's also that like the stocks that you know are more comfortable to analyze than the stocks that you don't know. And it takes a bunch of activation energy to basically say, I'm going to get up and look at this new stock and get totally familiar with it really quickly. And so usually the stocks that are brand new are mispriced, whether they're IPOs or whether they're spin-offs. And you can kind of see you can see the proof in the pudding where Google, Meta were wildly undervalued at their IPO. Tons of different spin-off examples I can give you were super undervalued. And on SPACs, right? Most of those SPACs were overvalued. So you get a lot of price distortion, and a smart analyst is best served looking at brand new stocks sometimes. I read this in jail, and a lot of the guys were saying, Martin, what do you got there? What's so interesting? And I said, this computer costs, $10 million or $100 million to make. And the guy leaned over and said, can I steal it? I said, well, if we plan the operation, we'll have to sneak into Google. And they said, well, how do we sneak into Google? I said, well, we're going to get some passes, and we're going to act like we're Google guys. And then we're going to take the dilution refrigerator and walk out with it. And he said, easy. This guy was one of the most famous bank robbers in the country. He said, any security or guards? I said, not really. You'll be fine. So Mission impossible, right? Yeah, I don't think AI is replacing money soon. got a ways to go. At some point, it's sort of reducing the need for money for some people who don't want to work. That's certainly true. We already live in a pseudo-welfare, pseudo-UBI society. Think about how many people you know that don't really work, kind of doing some email job, taking time off, the state's helping them, a lot of welfare, maybe they're a content creator. I know people who spend years doing that, just kind of. If you have $10,000, you really have to invest in yourself and find a way to make a lot more money. Investing in the markets is not going to do you very much. Quant trading is great. Go to Berkeley and get into quant trading. It's just a boring industry. Quit your job, lore. I don't think you should quit your job. A lot of people think that the only way to become rich is working for yourself or whatever. Man, first of all, you're always going to be working for somebody. 𝗕𝗢𝗊𝗘𝗢𝗢𝗊𝗑𝐺𝗙𝗙, all day long, you sweat and ragey. Neat is comfy, neat is cool. Knee is free from work and school. Wadey trapped and Wadey died. Neat eats tendies, sauce and fries. Wadey cries and Wadey moans. Wadey works his fingers to the bones. Work and work, no time for fun. Only exit is a gun. I love black culture, I don't know why. I just do. I know all the sayings. I know all the words. I got the best words. I was teaching my colleagues yesterday about a black culture phrase called God don't love ugly. Like there's some that are like esoteric. Come correct. And there's some like a lot of people are saying nowadays, like unk. Everybody knows unk. I wouldn't say rap is nursery rhymes. Some rap is rather good. A lot of rap is kind of not that intelligent, but standing on business is another like new one. People didn't say that 5 or 10 years ago. People would say stuff like, I'm about my business. No, I've been like this before jail. In fact, if anything, jail turned me off to a lot of black culture. I've compared Shakespeare and rap many times. In fact, there's a vocabulary analysis of rappers. Snoop Dogg has the lowest vocabulary, and the Wutang Clan actually had the highest vocabulary. I mentioned that to RZA when we met to discuss the album. Like, quantitatively, the Wu-Tang was one of the most creative albums. There's always great artists in any time period, but you have to look for them. And I don't have the time to look for them. There are people that spend their whole lives like looking through archives, listening to every record they can. Man, I don't got time for that. I don't know that human nature differs that much, that Shakespeare understood life better than we did. He was a brilliant writer, maybe the greatest of all time. So it's not easy to compare the average rapper to Shakespeare. It's a ridiculous comparison. Nevertheless, Jay-Z, for example, especially his most recent work, is fairly good. Even Lil Wayne, I'd put up there. And then there's lesser known rappers. I mean, 𝗕𝗓𝗄𝗓 or others. But then you get the 50 Cents of the world that are entertaining, but they're not. And he's a master of entertainment, as you can tell from his film success and television success. But he's not, Shakespeare. It would be insulting to even put them in the same sentence. Eminem, I would say. Eminem could be compared to Shakespeare quite easily. No one's taking the album. I have to give the album to my lawyers while this case is pending. Nobody should be paying for a course on day trading. There's no way to make 1% a day. 1% a day would make you the greatest trader of all time, by far. Better than Warren Buffett, better than Jim Simons, better than Steve Cohen. There's no such way to do that. Investing is very difficult. The results are uncertain. The way I look at drug companies and what's really nice about them compared to other kinds of companies is that you basically just have to look at each drug. There's not actually a lot more to most of these companies than just looking at every single drug. If you look at every drug, you basically will get a sense for the value by just looking at the portfolio. There isn't a whole lot more to it than that. Management skill is very important, but ultimately the most important thing is what are the drugs worth? Where are they going? Things like that. Yeah, I don't care about how many viewers I have. I have a lot of viewers who came through and watched our videos that are billionaires. I'm much more interested in talking to the intelligent viewer than the ADHD-addled Zoomer who can't make heads or tails of their life and wants to watch Aiden Ross. Go watch Aiden Ross play Fortnite. I'm here to make billions of dollars. And, I don't mind showing you how it's done. I think day trading indices is R-worded. It's YouTube, so I can't say regarded. It's rather regarded. There's one really good book about pharma, and I'll share it with you in a minute. But in general, these kind of things aren't written in books. They're oral histories, they're in conference call transcripts and so forth. I really think a math degree is one of the most valuable degrees you can get. Programming language, I think JavaScript or Python are largely have morphed into one. They're obviously not the same language, but in a lot of ways, their features have kind of slid towards each other as best practices in the programming community. So like everything you can do in Python, you can do in JavaScript and vice versa. Really the biggest difference between them is execution context. So Python's very good for machine learning and AI. It's basically the only thing you can use. And JavaScript's obviously the web. So the libraries are really different. Like React is the most popular library for JavaScript and for Python and stuff like PyTorch and Pandas. So if you're interested in like finance, data science, AI, Python's the way to go. If you're more interested in like generic business, including apps and web apps and the internet, JavaScript's the way to go. They're both the same though. What you learn one, you can learn the other.
Yeah, I'm designing a bunch of software that makes the stock analysis methodology better, because the way it's done now is not done great. And a lot of people on Wall Street have followed my methodology, but I've mostly been using off-the-shelf software. But after programming for the last 10 years, like I feel like I can make better software that streamlines this process. Every fund that does fundamental analysis has to go through this process. And whether it's quant or fundamental, both sort of, even the best professionals, their processes aren't great. And most of them, the really good ones, design their own software, which is unnecessary. So we'll see. Maybe I can make some more changes to this industry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry about your brother, Patrick. DMD is something very close to my heart, as you know. That breaks my heart. There really should be a drug for Duchenne. I started my most famous company trying to make a drug for Duchenne. And yeah, it's tough. It's one of the toughest medical problems, and only somebody really, really smart could figure it out. And I wanted to be that person, but the reality of starting a drug company and trying to maintain a profit and make your shareholders happy, but also do great science, it's difficult. It's very difficult. And I wanted to spend some time building a stronger company that I could then tackle a problem like that. With the limited gifts I have, but it wasn't meant to be. There's a lot of diseases like that really can rock a whole family, and they're very, very tough. You know, the people that suffer are the patient and the family. And I couldn't imagine how hard that would be.
I didn't read Vivek's description of me, but you know, I think obviously when politicians have to, and he's become a really good politician. You know, you got to be smart about, you know, covering all your bases. So I think Vivek believes everything good he says about me, but nothing of the bad. But you know, he's got to position himself a little differently publicly. I mean, a lot of his viewpoints have changed since he became the savior of the right. I had 100 meetings with Vivek. He was my biggest shareholder. Destiny's downfall. I'm so happy. Apparently, he apologized to me. Apologizing 2 years too late. Better late than never, I guess. He lied about me. He said that I rugged a project, and then he changed his tune when I confronted him. But it's like, dude, you know, when you have a big megaphone with millions of people listening to you, you can really, you know, hurt somebody by saying something that's inaccurate. And it's like, just call me and be like, hey, what happened here, man? Like, we have a friendship, we know each other. And you know, karma comes around pretty good. I think just being a programmer and thinking you're going to be rich from that is probably not the way to go. And it depends on what your goals are. If your goals are stability and wealth, or just
extreme wealth or in an intellectual challenge in wealth, fame and wealth. Like there's a lot of like little details that matter, and your personality is unique to you. You know, there's some things that are like, oh, that would be perfect for John, or oh no, that wouldn't really fit him at all. COBOL is the business language, correct? It's literally, right, common, what is it? Business-oriented language, right? Common computer business, quote-unquote business programming. I'm not even sure what that is. You know, every business kind of has developers these days. So, you know, you have web programmers learn JavaScript, data programmers learn Python, AI programmers learn Python. C# is like a utility language. You can kind of do everything with it. C++ and C and C#, the whole C family. Video games are written mostly in that family. So, you know, if you're a great programmer, the language stuff is a little bit different. Not that important, but the libraries are important. I think you should own a home if the home is like 5% of your net worth, 10% of your net worth, that kind of thing. If it's all of your net worth, man, that makes me nervous. I'd rather rent the home and own a stock that I really understand than put all of my net worth in a home I don't understand, right? I mean, imagine, like, what do you know about real estate? Do you know your neighborhood's going to succeed?